I recognize many of you, but if you don't know me, I'm Doug Mayo. I'm the County Extension Director here in Jackson County. The point of the meeting tonight is to make you aware of two programs that came from the state legislature. So we're still awaiting the federal bill in the Senate that's going to supply all the funding for the disaster programs you heard about last fall, and they go through the FSA office. Those are still up for debate. But we do have two programs that are helpful. We wanted you to be aware of them because there's time sensitivity with this. So we're fortunate enough that we had a number of key leaders in agriculture and from Farm Bureau and Cattlemen Association that we're working with our state legislature to try to get some things to help. The first one is fairly simple. It's available for every farmer affected by Hurricane Michael, and there's a long list of counties. So basically, if you bought construction materials between October 11th and June the 30th, you can submit your sales receipts and get your sales tax back. The other that's I think going to be helpful to all of our crop farmers is a bridge loan. And the idea is to bridge from now until federal dollars come. And we know how that works. We had an opportunity with Irma to see that is a slow process from time of congressional approval to check in the bank of the producer. So that's kind of the idea of bridging this period of time. So with that, I'm going to ask a couple of people to come up and share with us and give you an overview of these two programs. And then we're going to answer your questions. If you didn't pick it up on your way in at the registration table, there is a packet of information on the bridge loans, and it includes in it a loan application. So my main goal tonight is to make sure before you leave, if you find out if you're eligible for that program and you have the information you need to apply for it. And so we don't, we're here to answer your questions. We're here to help you, to guide you. So don't leave with a question. So we're going to try to give you some overview presentations and then open it up for questions. So I'll turn it over to Adam Bassford, who is the lobbyist for Florida Farm Bureau and did a lot of work to get these two programs through our state government.
Thanks, Doug. And first of all, I want to tell you guys, thank you for coming out tonight. It's very important that you came, and it's a big deal. Like Doug said, I'm Adam Bassford. I'm the Legislative Affairs Director for Florida Farm Bureau, and I also live in Grand Ridge, and my family farms and has farmed in Jackson County for many, many generations. And so being on staff at Florida Farm Bureau in 2019, working in the legislative session on disaster recovery response, I believe it was a very important thing for me to be working on, because on October 11th, I was doing the same thing that you guys were, working on my family farm, digging out, seeing the destruction, and not knowing where I was. And so being familiar with that feeling, with this area, understanding just what we've gone through in this community was important as we tried to advocate for support coming from the state legislature. Like Doug mentioned, really the primary support that this agricultural community is going to receive and needs is going to come from the federal level. And that's where the dollars are and where the response should be coming from. Just last week, Florida Farm Bureau had a contingent of 100+ members in Washington, D.C., and one of their primary goals was to push the Florida delegation to stand strong and make sure that disaster recovery reform actually happens. It's been 200 and however many days, and we still have not seen federal action. There's lots of reasons for that, but we continue to push, and thank goodness for people like Congressman Dunn, for people like Senator Rubio and Senator Nelson that have worked Senator Scott. Senator Nelson also helped before the end of the year, but Senator Scott has done a fantastic job of working for getting this disaster recovery actually done at the federal level. And we believe that's close. The House has passed a package. The Senate is taking one up, and we believe that they are close to actually getting that done. And that's where the predominance of the support that we need in this community is, and that's what we at Florida Farm Bureau have been advocating for. But we believe there was a ability for the state to help as well. So during the state legislative session, we at Florida Farm Bureau partnered with the rest of the agriculture industry and supported a lot of things to try to help in the meantime. Several things that we worked on was a bridge loan program, because we know that this time of year is very important for cotton and peanut farmers trying to get seeds in the ground and trying to create a situation where they can get financing for things like that. So a bridge loan program was important to try to advocate for. We advocated for that throughout the legislative session, and unfortunately the legislature was not able to find a way to get that done. Thankfully, at the end of the session, we made another ask of Governor DeSantis. Went into his office, and Governor DeSantis was able to see the need for this and was able to sign or to tweak a program to make it work for us. And so that's the program that we're going to be talking about tonight, the bridge loan program. And really that's what it is a bridge. We also worked on things for the forestry industry, trying to get cleanup dollars through the Department of Agriculture, through the Florida Forest Service, to help clean up and try to get for fire safety and other reasons. We tried to put additional dollars into their budget, but unfortunately for some reasons, you guys know where we are in this state and the population of this state and how many representatives we have. Unfortunately, I believe there's a bit of a South Florida bias. And so we were unable to get some of those dollars that we were really hoping for in the forestry cleanup area. We are also looking for ways to create some conservation lands, easements, ways to help get dollars to timber landowners to help clean up all of the forest debris that we have. And unfortunately, those were not able to be done. But we also, the thing that was finally successful was passing the sales tax exemptions. And Doug, actually, there are 4 different exemptions or different programs that we'll be able to take advantage of, and I'll walk through that. But I'll just tell you that as far as Florida Farm Bureau's efforts, we worked very hard to do what we could to represent agriculture here in the Panhandle. And we're very grateful for the opportunity to do that. Like I said, I mean, this is where I'm from. This is where my family has been, and this is the industry that my family's been in for my entire life and many generations before. So it's been an honor to work on this, and also frustrating as we've gone through. As you'll notice, it's not been an easy road, but we are very thankful that we are at a place that we have some support coming from the state level. So that's where I'll kind of start walking through the sales tax issues that we're able to accomplish. Senator Gaynor and Representative Drake both were very instrumental in making sure that these sales tax things happen. They worked hard both in the House and the Senate to make sure that our voice was heard, and so they were very helpful. So when you see Senator Gaynor or Representative Drake, tell them very much thank you for working on these sales tax issues. So there are, like I said, there are 4 different ways that people can get support through taxes. 2 of them are potentially helpful, but might be pretty isolated in their help. And then 2, I think, are going to be more helpful. So tangible personal property tax abatement. So if you had tangible personal property that you pay tax on, that money can be, if that equipment sat idle for 60 or more days because of the storm, then that can be, that tax can be given back, or you don't have to pay that tax. There is a deadline of that coming up in August, I believe. So if you did have equipment that you pay TPP on, then you can get exempted from that this year if it sat idle for 60 days. Now, I know there's not a lot of equipment. So where did that come from? That came from last year when we had Hurricane Irma, and there was a lot of citrus equipment, citrus packing houses and other things that had a high tangible personal property tax that sat idle for 60 or more days. And that was a way for us last year to get this in to help some of them. And when they did the tax package, they just swept this in there thinking, hey, there may be some people that could apply for this and make it work. And so that's how it got in there, and we're grateful that they put it in there, but it'll be probably pretty limited in use because most people were using their equipment shortly after the storm, and not much did sit idle, but there may be some that did. Another use for sales tax is fuel. And if you were hauling agricultural equipment or agricultural products, or hauling debris away from your farm, and you have receipts for your fuel in that, the fuel that you used in Florida, you can get a rebate for. Now, again, this is one of those things that kind of got swept in from Irma last year because there was a lot of movement of agricultural products at that time. And so fuel was something that was widely used, and a lot of tax paid on that, and a way to get dollars back in the pockets of farmers after Irma. We know that might not be as useful here, but if you hauled equipment, if you hauled agricultural products shortly after the storm, I think it's between, I don't have the date here, I'm sorry, but after the storm, I think for 3 or 4 months after that, you can get a rebate on your fuel if you're able to have receipts from your fuel. I know it's hard to do things back in arrears, but that's available for you. The two that will be very useful, I think, to many people are sales tax, a rebate program for building materials and fencing materials that you use to replace or repair your fences or your barns. And so we all know we've all done a lot of rebuilding and repairing. So for any new building that you built that replaced something that fell down, or for any new fence that you've put up since then, you are eligible to receive a full sales tax rebate from that. I had a meeting with the Department of Revenue yesterday. Their forms will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. We will have a lot more information about that, but essentially, like Doug said, between the day after the storm and June 30th, any purchases that you make to rebuild or replace materials for fences or buildings on your farm, those should be eligible for a sales tax rebate. Now, a couple of points to make. That's only for Florida purchases. Remember, the Florida legislature does not have the authority to tell Georgia not to pay sales tax, or Alabama. So unfortunately, if you purchased some of those materials in Georgia or Alabama, which I know is very common, those will not be able to be rebated. But any sales tax paid in the state of Florida for fencing materials or building materials between October 11th and June 30th are eligible for that. And I'll just tell you, Florida Farm Bureau, our goal next year will be to extend that because I know, Mr. Greg, we were just talking about, there's a whole lot of people that have ordered buildings who are sitting waiting to get things rebuilt, and just it takes a long time to rebuild. And so we're going to try to make that retroactive next year. The session starts in January, ends in February, so we're hoping to be able to do that. So as you continue to build and recover, save your invoices and things like that, because I hope to be able to supply some of that next year as well.
But we still have 30 days to make
yes.
the purchase.
Yes, and so 30 days to continue to make purchases, and you do not have to use those materials. So if you do know you're going to have a building built, you want to go ahead and purchase that in June to make sure that it's eligible for that sales tax refund this year, then you can do that. It doesn't have to be built. It doesn't matter. It just has to be purchased. And so the sales tax that you pay for those materials is eligible for a rebate. Any questions on that? We will have information on Florida Farm Bureau's website that you can go to and have all of that ready to go, all the forms able to be printed out. Most of them are fillable online, but you will have to print them out and send them into DOR. It's amazing, the state government, the government at all. You still have to do things by hard copy sometimes. but that's the way you can do it. And we'll have all that information on the floridafarmbureau.org website. So please check that out. We'll have a site that has a lot of disaster recovery information. It'll have information about this and the bridge loan program. I talked a little bit about kind of the process, how we advocated for this bridge loan program for a long time during the legislative session and even before the legislative session, but it took till after the legislative session for the governor to act on it. I want to just publicly say thank you to Governor DeSantis and his staff for listening to us. The focus, the reason why Florida Farm Bureau was advocating for this program is because of the time-sensitive nature of planting in this area. That is a kind of a very specific need that we saw, that we knew that was needed in this area. I mean, many of you called me and talked to me about that issue. And so the time-sensitive nature made us focus on a program that was a bridge loan for crop farmers. We understand there are other people working in other sectors of the industry, in the animal agriculture industry, dairy, beef cows, and in other ways, the forestry industry, that could potentially take advantage of a program like this. We're continuing to talk with the governor's office about that, about potentially expanding eligibility for people that need it. So if you are a person in an industry that it would not be eligible, or that's not a row crop farmer today that might have some problems being eligible as the program is written right now, please let me know. If a bridge loan program would help you, whether you're a beekeeper or whether you're a dairyman or whether you're someone else, please let me know, because we will be going back to the governor's office to tell them if there are additional needs and additional people that could take advantage of a bridge loan program like that. The intention is not to exclude anyone. Our reason for advocating it for row crop farmers was because of the specific time-sensitive needs that planting season lent themselves to. So again, please come to me, talk to me. We want to hear stories and want to understand how best to help people recover. And the governor's office has been fantastic about listening to those stories, and we want to be able to convey those as we move forward. So again, please come talk to me about it. Are there any questions kind of as far as what I can answer as far as what Florida Farm Bureau has been working on and what we've been doing? Well, great. So I think one of the main reasons we wanted to hold this meeting is to have some of the people who will be implementing this bridge loan program able to talk to you about how to apply, what you need to know before you fill out an application, and kind of getting down into the technical nuts and bolts of how it will work. And so Kelly, I know you're here, and the Department of Economic Opportunity and the SBDC are the ones administering this program. And so Kelly's with the SBDC. And Kelly, would you like to come give a presentation? And then hopefully, I'm sure we'll have some questions about that. But thank you so much for making the drive over here, Mariana. We appreciate you coming out. Sure.
Well, I wish I'd have did a nice PowerPoint. It took me very long to put one together. I do that a lot. Hey guys, I'm Kelly Massey. I'm with the Florida Small Business Development Center. We're located or at least in my region, we're located at University of West Florida. And I recognize a few faces. Does anybody want to know where a lot of my staff was parked at for the last quarter of 2018? And that's my coworker over there on the phone. So we'll go outside, man. So we were actually right in this room. If y'all remember, the SBA, the FEMA, and all those guys were over here doing the disaster relief. So I want to say one thing. I know that Adam did a good job of, tooting the horn of the governor and all that. I want to say, though, that in recent years, at least the state of Florida has done a lot more, I think, to assist people in assistance with disaster recovery and hurricanes. So I would say a few years ago, the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan has been around for a long time. And typically speaking, you had to have 2 or more employees, and it had to be a disaster that was worthy of a disaster declaration. And one thing that happened after Michael, which was basically had not happened before, was that the then Governor Rick Scott said you can be self-employed and apply for up to $25,000. Any of you guys already got the bridge loan in here? I know a couple of you did. And so you got the original bridge loan, and then of course now we have this, but prior to that, there was actually a bridge loan for citrus farmers after Hurricane Irma as well. And so to echo what Adam said, I mean, it's not that anybody is trying to be excluded. They're trying to continue to add different parameters to the bridge loan program. So I applaud you guys for making that happen. So our role at the Small Business Development Center is basically to help process the loan. So we don't make any decisions on who qualifies or anything like that. We just help you apply and send the paperwork into the administrator and help solve problems. And our goal is to make it to where hopefully you can get that loan. So I personally was in, anybody else been down to Port St. Joe before? Lovely town. I spent 3 months down there, and it was really rewarding work down there. And we had offices all over the place. Glenn Eichler, which is right over there, he can answer a lot of questions as well. He was here. He actually had his house impacted. He's out of Panama City with the hurricane and had a nice sunroof put into his house thanks to the hurricane. But so the reason I bring that up is because we're here. Lynn's here. He's going to be in Mariana. I'm going to be around. We're here. We're going to be here. You know, a lot of the SBA people, the federal people, they're kind of gone now. And so, not to say too much, I'm a little disappointed in the federal government's reaction to this storm, but I do think that the state stepped up pretty well. So, but getting into the bridge loan program, you guys should have your applications. If not, I've got a bunch here, and we'll go over the parameters of the program and just let you know that we're here to help you apply. So the application period for the program is up until June 30th of this year. And so just keep that in mind. So I guess what I'll do is just kind of go down, my packet's a little different than yours. I'll go down through your packet just so we can all kind of stay on track. So basically what this is a up to $200,000 loan for a term of up to 2 years for businesses who were established prior to October 7th of 2018. I have no idea why they chose that date, but that's the date that you would have had to been in business in order to apply for the loan. And only one loan may be made per eligible business. And all previous bridge loans must be paid in full. Now, I know one question you may have is, does that count if you got a previous loan with Hurricane Michael? So you may have gotten a $50,000 loan with Hurricane Michael. We've asked that question, but I've not gotten an answer on that. But I'm assuming there would be some kind of exception, or you may get the amount reduced by what you got already. I have no idea, but we'll let you know. We can get the word out and pass that on to you guys. And of course, I think hopefully they'll update that information on the website as we move forward.
Let's make sure that people don't get confused with that word business there. Because that really talks, that's really farm.
Right.
Yeah, it's not ag businesses. That's big farm. Even though it says business, that's their terminology.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Lynn has picked up on, and you can tell that this was done by somebody that doesn't know much about farming. I think it says on here that you have to turn in a Schedule C, and I don't think farmers do Schedule C, so I think it'd be a Schedule F that you would need to submit with your paperwork if you've already looked at that. So basically it's a bridge loan. So if you look in the application, we'll go over that in a minute. In the application, it gives you different boxes you can check to show how you're going to repay the state of Florida for the bridge loan. And I would say most of you is probably going to be through Farm Credit Agency or something like that. But they're going to want to know, how do you plan on paying that loan back after 2 years? Now you will see in here some documentation also that after the 2 years, your interest rate will go up to 12% and then up to 18%. The state is not interested in charging you an exorbitant amount of interest. They don't want to do that. Why did they put the high interest rate in there? they want you to pay the loan off in 2 years. And so, so that, just understand that you need to have a plan in place to go secure alternative financing or be able to pay that loan back within that 2-year period. Because again, the state's not interested in getting money from you. Again, these aren't grants. If you look in the third paragraph, these are designed to be the primary source of assistance to affected agricultural producers, and these are using public funds. They're not grants, and you have to pay these back. So, yes.
I have a question. If you're waiting to get, other federal payments, will the state, by any chance, defer the loan due date coincide with when you may get that money from FSA?
I mean, as of right now, I would say no. I mean, that could be subject to change, but yeah, as of right now, it's, yeah.
Some
I
of
mean,
these guys may not get their federal dollars in 2 years.
right. And I would say that that's, as of right now, I have to say no, but again, I think that would be something that would definitely, I would think the state would be willing to listen to if there's a great number of people that saying, hey, we're expecting money in 3 months. This is a program where the state is definitely not looking to stick it to you. They're looking to help you out. That's my opinion of it. So they otherwise they wouldn't have done it at all. So great question. So down at getting started, first is the eligibility requirements, which we'll go over. Download and complete and sign the application form. You have a hard copy of the application form you're welcome to use as well. And then contact the SBDC. And I do have several of the person that's going to be doing the back office work for the bridge loans is Aisha Hader is her name, and I've got several of her business cards here. So I encourage you to pick up one of her cards, and that way if you have any questions when you get home, you can contact her and she'll be happy to help you. If we don't know the answer, we have a hotline basically to the DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity, who is the head of the program, and we're happy to ask them any questions that we need to, because if it's a question you have, it's going to be a question probably somebody else has as well. And so we went through the same process with the other bridge loans that we did.
Kelly, I never looked at the application online yet. Is it a fillable form online?
Yes, yes. So you can fill it out online, and you do have a hard copy here. And of course, if you fill it out online, you want to print it out so you can sign it and then scan it here. Lynn, we actually were at Chipola College today, and they have agreed to set us up in an office in Chipola College. And so one of the things that we can get the word out, we just literally went from that meeting to this meeting, but we can get word out to you guys that when Lynn will be staffing that office and when he'll be there, and you'd be able to go see him right here in Marianna as well to submit the documents and things like that. So whatever you're more comfortable with, you can send them through scan or get your accountant to do it for you, scan the documents in, or go see Lynn and he can make the scans for you. However, we're just trying to help the process as much as possible. So if you go on to the back of page 1, I guess it really needs to, that's just our little tooting our own horn about the emergency bridge loan program. We've been doing this a long time, and we're definitely glad to help. So before I continue with the disaster loan program, does anybody know what the Small Business Development Center normally does other than bridge loans every once in a while?
Economic development?
Sort of. I like to call this the business retention and expansion arm of an economic development agency. Matter of fact, in Arkansas, they paid us to do that. And so what we can do is help you guys with business fundamentals. And Lynn has owned farms. He's done lots of things up in South Dakota. He can shoot a prairie dog with a slingshot at 200 yards. It's amazing. Do all kinds of stuff. And so we do have some people that understand the agriculture business, but we help with business fundamentals like accounting, HR, marketing, government contracting, exporting, all kinds of stuff. We have different specialists. And if you come and see Lynn, or you come and see me or one of my other staff, and we have offices in Pensacola, Fort Walton, Marietta, all over the place, Panama City, it costs you nothing. It's paid right out of your tax dollars. We're paid from federal and state dollars. And so if you think we can help, call us and we'll be glad to help you. So Aisha can help you with the loan, with the package. She can help you do a business plan. It's whatever you need. Okay, so going to eligible producers. Again, you have to be a row crop farmer, and I can give you the NAICS code of each one, but it's basically row crop farming. And then, we'll evaluate the applications and determine if you're eligible. And then we send it on to Florida First Capital, who is the administrator of the program, and they typically pull credit scores and things like that. And then the information goes to one of the loan committees, and they review the loan committee and assess, or they review your application and assess your ability to repay, basically. With that being said, they want to give the loan, they want to, not give the loan, they want to give you the loan. Of course, you pay it back later, but they will assess your ability to repay that loan. Yes, sir.
So please make sure you mention hay is a crop. That's a little bit of confusion that's been with this. What is eligible? It says crop farmer or crops, but hay is a crop in that list.
I haven't checked it, but if you say it is, it is. Okay.
You read it to me, so.
Oh, okay.
Is grass?
It's a crop.
Absolutely. So if you put up hay and it's
Right.
just grass, but you put it up, it's hay, right?
Correct.
So it's a crop.
It is a crop.
You may not have planted it, it may have grown naturally, but it's still a crop. Put trees on.
Yes, sir.
Where will the committee that reviews the applications be chosen from? Where does that committee come from?
We're still assembling it because we have like tons of loan committees for the traditional loans that we were doing. But what I'm doing now is assembling people who have done the bridge loans before with people who have ag experience. Typically, they're going to be some type of bankers and things like that. But geographical area, state of Florida. Yeah, I'm not just going to go. And the reason I'm doing that is because when this happens again, and hopefully it'll be 20 years down the road, we'll have, and we're doing the same thing with the other bridge loans. We're dividing it out throughout the whole state. That way, if you have an event, in the South, the people in the North can handle it, the loan committees can handle it, and vice versa. And so as far as who's going to be on the loan committee, that's pretty much confidential anyway. So we don't need y'all beating down the doors anymore.
No, I didn't want to know. I just wondered where they were chosen from.
Yeah, I would say I want to try to keep it in the north side, basically from here to Jacksonville. But I've got some names of some folks that are in Central Florida as well. We might put a couple of them on the list. But keep in mind, this is like we did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of regular bridge loan applications. And let's say we do 100 of these, so it's not going to take near the manpower as far as bridge loan committees as it did for the other. And it was a lot of work, I'll tell you. But good question. All right, so let's get back to eligible producers. You must be a resident of Florida and actively engaged in growing and shipping or growing and processed field crops in the designated areas, but not limited to peanuts, cotton, and soybeans. Be a producer with documentation of ownership of the parcels of land in production that must be provided at the time of application. You have to be located in one of the designated counties, which is for Hurricane Michael, is Bay, Calhoun, Franklin, Walton, Franklin, Gadsden, Gulf, Holmes, Jackson, Jefferson, Leon, Liberty, Okaloosa, Wakulla, Walton, and Washington counties. And again, your business has to be established prior to October 7th of 2018. And this is an easy one. You must be able to demonstrate physical damage and or economic injury as a result of the designated disaster. Note the need for the loan and use of proceeds must be directly related to physical damage and or economic injury. Y'all understand what I'm talking about? Actual damage or economic injury. And it was kind of the same way this SBA set up their loan programs. They kind of did both. So even if you didn't have physical damage, but you can prove that you had an economic injury, for example, you know, for the other bridge loan, if you had a hotel out on the beach, you had economic injury, even though it may not have directly impacted your building because people weren't coming for that period of time to your hotel, for example. The loans will be made to individuals who own at least 51% of the equity of the farm. So basically, if you have 4 people and they're all 25% owner, you have to have 3 sign the application. Does that make sense? You have to have 51% or more ownership in the company, sign and guarantee that loan. Does that make sense? Okay. That's a little redundant. The borrower must validate that they indeed suffered a loss. They are required to document the loss with photographs of damage and prior year production records compared to the current year. Prior records may be an average of the last 5 years of production. Borrower must provide a farming history and crop description. And I think you can do a lot of that just right on the application, if I remember right. And we'll look at that here in just a minute. Borrower will be required to sign an agreement that the proceeds, and this will be in the closing packet, the borrower will be required to sign an agreement that the proceeds of the loan will be used only for purposes of maintaining or restarting the business in the designated area, use of proceeds to pay off debts already incurred for qualifying business maintenance or restart purposes may be authorized on a case-by-case basis. I'm sure you all were going to just run out and get a Ferrari with that money, but you know what I mean. The borrower will be required to certify that the proceeds of anticipated receipts, insurance claims, other loans applied for or to be applied for, or other financial assistance will be used to repay the loan. So the main thing you're going to need to do is provide some type of documentation and assurance included in that packet that the loan committee can see to assure them that there's a high probability you're going to repay that loan. Does that make sense? Yes.
You mentioned you can only use the money to repay debt on a case-by-case basis. So can you explain that? So a lot of our guys had operating loans to the farm last year that they got no income to pay. So if they could pay off their last year's debt, then they can get financing for this year. So how does that case-by-case, how does that work?
I honestly don't know that they're going to look at it. I don't think they're going to scrutinize it at that much. They're going to find out what's your ability to repay. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts. Based on the bridge loans, and we did a ton. I mean, they wanted the thing that the loan committees wanted to know, and they're the ones that are going to make the decision, is can you repay? And so that's going to kind of go back to the credit score. That's going to go back to what do your financial statements look like? Are you just tremendously over leveraged already prior to? That's why they're going to go back to previous tax returns. If you weren't making any money 2 years ago and you weren't making any money 3 years ago, and the loan committee can't make a reasonable determination that you were just trying to not show a lot of profit because you didn't want to pay a bunch of taxes, you know, that could potentially be problematic, I would think. Now, I'm not going to be on the loan committee, so I can't say for sure. But that's what they're going to want the tax returns for, is to show so you can prove you're a solvent business before the event happened. Does that sound right to you, Lynn?
I think if you really try to keep it simple, if you're a row crop farmer and you need money and you've got the ability to pay it back, you're good. Provided you don't have bad credit history and stuff like that. You know, there's always those things. But if you're a legitimate farmer, row crop farmer, that, you know, even if you've got a good banking relationship, you probably can still use $200,000 interest free for 2 years. But you've got to be able to show that you got the repayment capability, and if you didn't file your income tax, or you showed a loss of your income tax for the last 3 years, you gotta show something that pays them back. And that's really all it really boils down to. If you try to keep it simple like that, I don't think you'll have any trouble. And now, we found out from before that a lot of people haven't filed income tax. A lot of people haven't filed income tax for a couple, 3 years. And help you.
Yeah, and that's basically gonna happen with any loan any loan. If you haven't done some of these things, you're gonna have a hard time getting a loan. So basically, once you get you decide you wanna apply, which is at the bottom of page 1 of the eligibility and loan procedures, the loan development procedures. Of course, it's been activated. You can complete and sign the application form and gather all the required documentation. Then what you're going to do is basically contact us. Again, I've got Aisha's cards here, and you'll contact her. And what she's going to do is go through the packet, verify your identification. So since this is an online deal, what she's going to probably want you to do is submit a copy of your ID, just so she can say, okay, this is the person that's applying for the loan. We have to have that documentation. At some point, if you do get approved also, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but with the other bridge loans, once you are approved, you'd have to complete a ACH payment transfer sheet, and they would want a voided check because a lot of people don't put the right numbers on there, and they want the right numbers, so you'd have to submit a voided check so they would know how to transfer the money into your account. So just keep that in mind. So we would go down and do that. We would ask for the credit report from the administrator. Once we get that back, we submit the completed application packet, everything they need to the loan committee. They vote on it. If you're approved, all that gets sent to Florida First Capital. And then if you're denied, it's also sent to Florida First Capital, and they'll send a denial letter to you. And I would say we had, if I remember right, and don't hold me, I think we had about an 85% approval rate or something like that on the loans that we did for the traditional bridge loans this fall. Let's see. And then once everything's approved, they send the closing documents to us, and we get those to you. You can fill out the closing documents. You have to have them notarized, and then those go back to us. We send them through a secure system back to Florida First Capital, and then that's when they wire the money. I would say with the other program, it was a really quick turnaround time. I don't think it'll be quite as quick with this one, but it'll be a lot quicker than anything you've seen with the SBA or any of the rest of them for sure. I would say once all the documentation is to us, the turnaround time should just be 2 or 3 weeks at the most.
It's designed to be fast.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Right. I think we had it down with the other one to about 4 days, but it was a lot less. They required a lot less documents because there's a lot less money they were loaning out. So, yes.
You mentioned the maximum is 200,000. Is there a minimum amount?
Not that I'm aware of. It'd be the minimum that you're willing to apply. You waste your time applying for, I would say, basically. Yeah, I don't think I've not heard of it, but I wouldn't.
Something that goes along with that is people ask, well, do I have to take 200,000? No, you don't have to take any of it if you don't want. If I apply and I get approved, do I have to take the money? No, you don't. Okay, can I pay it off early? Yes, you can pay it off early. No?
Yeah, good
those things come up in questions all the time. But
yeah, I would never recommend. Maybe I would. Maybe I am. If it's a deal where you think that you could use the portion of that $200,000 and you have a very good sense that you can pay that money back. Like Lynn said, why wouldn't you try to get some interest-free money for 2 years or a year whenever you want to pay it back? I mean, to me, that's almost something that you need.
Can you take the $200,000, put it in the bank, generate interest on that money, and if you need it, you got it there, and if you don't, you pay it back? Yes. I mean, that's not the intent of the loan, but, you know, as long as you got good credit and you're a good roll crop.
The only reason I kind of hate giving that advice because there's only a finite amount of money in that, you know, but you could do that. Yeah.
But the thing about it is that a lot of times people look at this saying, well, I don't know what I'm gonna need. I don't know what my needs are. You know, it's just like some of the other programs, it's like, I'd like to have the cushion if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point.
So bringing up the point of a finite amount, we have 25 million. I know the deadline to apply is June 30th. But if you get more applications than you have funding for, how do you decide whose loans are funded over the other?
First come, first serve.
So hence the need for the meeting tonight. You have an application.
Yeah, it's when the money goes, and Adam or whoever can go back and say, we need more money, and it may happen or it may not happen. But I would love nothing better than to go through that 25 mil in a hurry. Because I think if people need it, let's do it, and money's there. So I just soon help as many people as I can if you need the loan. Absolutely.
Take no picture as far as security, as far as securing the loan, or is this gonna be an unsecured loan?
It is basically, from what I can tell, it is a unsecured loan. It's a very high dollar signature loan is what it is. I would say, and I can't speak for the state, but that's a really, really bad idea to stiff the state. So find a way to pay it back. But yeah, it's basically, I mean, again, they would need to see your ability to repay, but it's as far as I know, it's a signature loan.
But part of the application is the repayment capability. What's the process to repay the loan? And so that's going to be very critical. That's the part that sort of gets lost there, but they want some sort of proof that you've got some. So like say for instance that you don't know what you're going to do. And you say, well, I'm going to hope I can pay it back someday. Well, that's not going to cut it. There has to be some sort of documented proof that you can pay it back.
Yeah, and the short answer is they're probably not going to put a lien on your farm if that's what you're asking. I don't think they're going to do anything like that. So just going on to that's a good question, by the way. It's a really good question. Going on to the actual application, catastrophic emergency bridge loan application up to $200,000. And, you know, again, as Lynn said, you know, try not to get too complicated with it, but, you know, what type of damage did your business suffer? Did you suffer physical damage or economic injury or both? You can fill that out. And then what are your this is the important part. What are your expected sources of repayment? Would it be other federal aid, insurance proceeds, bank or other loans? Was it from Farm Credit Agency, or would it be a combination thereof? And that's where you're going to need to probably write out something to say, here's how I'm going to pay, you know, here's how I expect to pay the loan back, and include that in the application. Now this is a weird one. I don't even know why they include this, but if you look at the next one, this is really the way it is. How was your business? Was your business also impacted by Hurricane Irma? That is correct. They want to know if your business was also impacted by Irma. They know this is Michael. They want to know if it was Irma. So like we did this before, and people would always mark it out and put Michael. They really do want to know, because the ones over towards Tallahassee were impacted by Hurricane Irma, both of them. So not sure why they asked it, but they wanted to know that for some reason. So on to the next page. This is just whoever is signing for the loan to add up to 51% or more ownership. That's one person. Only one person needs to sign. If it's more than that, as long as you get up to the 51%. So I won't go through the ineligible business and gambling and things like that. That didn't really apply. This is kind of stuff left over from the prior application. So section 3, required application documentation. Again, you're gonna need last 3 years business tax returns. So it's 16, 17, and they're gonna want 18, I'm sure. And they may ask for, I don't know if they would ask for that on this one or not, the interim. I think they're only gonna ask for interim financials if you don't have the 2018, I believe. So I think you're good with the.
The thing about it is, a lot of you have paper copies of your tax returns that your accountant gave you, and you say, well, I got it, but your accountant probably has an electronic version of it. For heaven's sake, don't mess around if you got an electronic version of it, because there's a lot of pages into that form. So.
Yeah, to elaborate on that, I can tell you that in the second day I was in Port St. Joe, every accountant in the region knew exactly who I was, because I would say, don't try to go find your tax returns in whatever mess is left in your house or your business. Call your accountant. If they have connectivity, tell them to email me your tax returns. And they would. And it saved them, it will save you a ton of time if you just say, hey, can you email my tax returns over to me and Aisha? And bam, you got that part done, and you can work on the rest of the information. Now, I will say, I mean, we're not the Pentagon, but we are a university, and our email and things is pretty darn secure. So I think you'll be okay. I haven't had any real problems working at the university in relation to security or anything like that. So
if your accountant basically says, I'll fill this out for you, and I can do this for you, you can do that. But from what I saw from before, it's not that difficult to do, and your accountant's going to charge quite a bit of money to do this. So it's up to you, but don't just automatically say, oh gosh, this is a bunch of paperwork, I don't know how to do this. I'll let my accountant figure that out and let them do it. And if you want to do that, that's fine. I'm just saying it's not that hard to do. You do it.
yeah. Oh, keep in mind on the business, you need last 3 years business tax returns, last 3 years personal tax returns. You need both of those. If you have more than one person signing as an owner, I need each owner's personal tax return. So each owner's personal tax return for the last 3 years, business tax returns for the last 3 years. And then also if you're, as far as employer documentation, we would either need the Form IRS Form 940, the IRS Form 941, or the W-3s or W-2s for a minimum of 2 employees. That just proves that you have payroll employees.
But you don't have to have payroll. You don't have to.
Yeah. Well, that's true. They don't really specify in this one.
No, you don't have to have employees in there. And you could be, you know, a farm owner and not be, say, subject to S corporation or even an LLC. You can just be Mr. Farmer. And so you don't need business tax returns and personal tax returns because it's personal tax returns.
Yeah, it's all in one. Yeah.
It's all one.
Yeah.
But if you're a corporation, and many of you are corporations, then we need corporate tax return and the personal tax return. And the personal tax returns of enough people to come up to their 51%. So if it's a husband and wife and they file separately, or if it's a corporation with 3 or 4 members, we need income tax for everybody that's personal tax plus the corporate tax. But if you're just an individual and you file as a farmer, you just have a personal income tax, and that's all we need to schedule out.
What does it mean by proof of validation of crops in the ground? Number 5.
Well, first of all, we don't want a whole bunch of pictures. We'll take a couple, 3 pictures, but you know, we don't want a whole pile of them. Okay. But the thing about it is that, you know, how do you prove that you had or will be planting crops? Well, you should be able to prove it somehow.
So if you go to the Farm Service Agency, they did a planting
report. That would work, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to prove that you're a legitimate farmer.
Okay, so we'll move on to section 4, application. Yes,
I have a
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
A while back, you said you had to have proof of the ownership of the land. What about the lease property? Can you explain that as well?
I'm not sure the answer to that question. Based on what I'm reading, you have to own the land, but I can get clarification, but I don't know. Have you heard any on that with the lease?
We got answered by, we're asking the same question.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the questions we sent to Mike Dinopoly, and I haven't heard anything on that as of yet.
That was one of the questions I asked too. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, it's literally a situation where I think it was Friday, I got a call from my state director that says, hey, the state's gonna do another bridge loan for the row crop farmers. Will you and your staff help do this loan? And I'm kind of like, yes. He said, good, the governor already approved it and it's already getting loaded onto the website. So there's still, I mean, this happened really fast. So you did a great job, or whoever did a great job, because I didn't see this one coming. I'm glad it did though. So again, I know that you guys have submitted your emails and stuff. And so as we get information, we can send that on to, and I guess you'll get the information we get, but as we get new information, I'm happy. What's not loaded onto the website, we can disseminate that to you guys.
Let me answer her question a little bit more, if I can. I'm not sure that when they filled out this application, they thought of all these different scenarios. But let's say, for instance, that your grandparents had a farm and they're retired now and you're farming. If your personal income tax has a Schedule F on it, that would indicate that you're a farmer. Now, whether you own the land or not, that's a lease, that's part of your expenses of being a farmer. So in my view, you're a farmer. That isn't what the application says, but that's just my take on it.
Right, but that needs to be clarified.
It
That
does.
just dramatically, as far as your repayment program goes. So you own 100 acres, but you lease 500, it's a big difference.
And that's very common.
This seems to me like it'd be a farm business loan and not a farm property loan. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like my farmer owns a bunch of property, farms, but he also farms a lot of lease land. So to me, the logic is that this is a farm business loan.
Yeah, this is for operators, yeah.
And in all of our discussions, we know that leasing is the common practice. I don't believe the intention was to leave that out, so I believe that will be cleared up.
I
It's
do
not,
too.
it's not the words on the page, but I believe that's the intention.
I mean, if I look at a Schedule F and somebody owns equipment and they paid for fertilizer and they paid for seed and they have income from the sale of the crop, that makes them a farmer in my eyes.
Yeah.
The intention was to get farmers eligible for the loan, and I don't think the ownership of the property should be the determining factor. I don't think that's the intention.
Right. But yeah, as soon as we get that answer, we'll get that out to you guys via email. And again, I get Aisha's card, because she may be sending emails out as well to whoever she's got contacts with as we're helping them. So basically, the form itself, once you get to the application form, is pretty easy. If you get to certain sections of the form and you don't really know what to put in the blank, call Aisha. She can help you fill those out. As far as credit information, any banks that you have down on 13. And one thing that I would say held up the process is that we would get these incomplete, and I can't do anything with it. I'm not going to send an incomplete application packet to a loan committee and waste their time. I'm just not going to do it. And so if there's a blank, fill in the blank. And it's going to ask for, and I don't know why this lags like this. We try to get them to fix this, but it starts here and it goes on to the next page. What your account type is, any key creditors that you buy supplies from on a regular basis, you can put them down, and bankers. anybody who the loan committee can choose to call, and they can say, oh yeah, they pay all their bills every month on time, things like that. Or they don't go, into, getting bad checks and things like that. Anything that you can put in there. If you're getting any insurance proceeds back, you need to list that under 15 or what you expect to get back. And then number 16 is important, just to describe, what happened, and what your farming history is, your crop description. That's kind of what all you would put in number 16. And then whoever's 51% or more owners would fill out the next section. And then basically, just need to sign. And as far as if number 19 is just if anyone assisted you in completing the application other than us, then that person would sign right there. I would say, what would you say, Lynn? Like 99% of the people didn't have anybody other than us help them out. So to Lynn's point, unless we just can't meet your needs, I wouldn't go out and pay an accountant to help you do it. That's completely up to you. And that's the application. It's pretty quick and easy. It's the easiest application I've ever helped somebody apply for to get $200,000. I can tell you that.
There's two places where the signatures needed, and both people, or
Yeah.
whoever has to be on this, has to sign in both places. One's the application, and then the other one is permission to run credit.
Right, good point.
And don't forget on the very first page, very first top corner here, how much money do you want? That little box like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't forget that little guy.
Yeah, we had a lot of people that just wouldn't fill it in, and we kind of knew most of the time it was whatever the max they could get, but you do need to be very, very thorough and fill out the entire application form. So I guess anything that we forgot to mention, Adam, that you can think of? All right, well, I'm going to, ask you, yes.
You mentioned that you're trying to get clarification on previous bridge loan repayment prior to application submission. What do you expect to have an answer on that?
Well, the question I'm asking is if you took out a Hurricane Michael bridge loan and you've not paid it back, how will they address that? I can tell you if you took out a bridge loan on anything else other than Hurricane Michael, you're gonna have had it paid back before you can qualify, for sure. But if it's a Hurricane Michael, yes.
The governor gave us a short period of time when we could get up to 50,000 if you had 2 employees.
Right.
So would they deduct that from the 200,000?
That's the question I've already asked. I just haven't I literally asked that question yesterday. The DEO, man, you'd think they would have already given me an answer, but no, I'm kidding. But they have a tough crowd. But they haven't.
And a lot of that is due to the quick nature of this. I mean, the governor announced this a week ago today. So that's how quick this has been turned around. So there are going to be some of those questions, but they're working to try to get things done quickly. So bear with us as we're working.
Yeah, I'd say we've got most of the information considering how fast this thing was rolled out. But yeah, I would expect, and again, I'm not making this decision, but if you have a current Hurricane Michael loan, the logical thing would be for me that they would probably say, if you already got 50,000, you want 200, they're going to give you 150, something like that. You have a bridge loan, or you have a bridge loan that, other than that, it has not been paid, you got other issues. Yes,
So are
ma'am.
there any of those other bridge programs that are still open that other ag business people would be able to apply for, or are they all closed?
The other one, yeah, the other bridge loan program is already closed. It closed in like mid-February, something like that.
However, you still can apply if you're an agriculture business. You're a chemical company, you're something else. SBA still is taking applications for loss of income. Now, that's
Right.
business, that's not farming, that's business. Loss of income is still available, and under special circumstances, and I don't know what exactly the circumstances are, if you had damages to your business, and you weren't able to apply during the period of time in which the SBA was taking the applications, you still can ask to apply. Whether they'll let you apply or not, it's case by case basis.
Yeah, and to get the ball rolling, and I guess my recommendation would just be go on the SBA.gov website. This is www.sba.gov, and you can just type in Hurricane Michael disaster, and it'll pull up what's available, or you can call Aisha. She can get you pointed in the right direction as well. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. The economic entry loan is still open. The property damage is not, but they said in that, it was a meeting in here a couple of weeks ago, they said, well, they still can open that one up under certain circumstances. They could, and the SBA people were here, and they said they wouldn't really say what those circumstances were. But yeah, and that's not a bad way to go as well.
Different application, different kind of a process, but a lot of the same information.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So I've got just kind of an add-on from the question earlier, the rented versus owned land. So if right now we don't know and we're waiting to find that out, are we thinking, the next couple of days, should they wait a week? Because it's first come, first served. Should they go ahead, if they rent 500, own 500, should they just turn it in on 500 acres? Should they go ahead and shoot for the whole 1,000? Or will the loan get kicked out, the application?
I would say go ahead and start on the process now, and by the time you get everything together, we're gonna know the answer to that question. I think we'll know the answer to that question by the end of the week. I'd be surprised. Very good question.
But if you own 500 and rent 500, you're okay. You're a farm business. All you gotta show is that on the 500 you own, you can repay that. It's not a huge amount, and it's targeted to business. It's a business bridge loan.
Hey, man, will you start handing these out? I'm gonna pull them.
Well, let's give these folks a hand that came over tonight. I appreciate them coming on short notice. They didn't know we were doing this until Friday. And I appreciate y'all coming on church night. We have graduations every night this week, and this was the night that we can make it work. So I appreciate y'all coming. I encourage you to move forward. If this is a program, or either of these programs can help you move forward, there is not a deadline on the tax refund except the currently you have until June 30th. After June 30th, we don't have the sales tax rebate at this point in time. They may come later. That's the only deadline with that program. But the deadline with the loan program is there's only 25 million. If you do the math, that's 125 farms for 200,000. So I wanted to make sure people had the information as soon as possible. So thank y'all for coming, and I hope you'll take advantage if this will help your farm.